This is my Easter spring miniature ghost kit, and I'm going to show you how I painted and assembled it. First, I spray each of the pieces down with a flat white primer. For this miniature, the colors I use are white, light lavender, and jet black apple barrel acrylic paint. I lightly hot glued it to a platform to make painting easier, and I start with the white and do a couple of coats of white on the ghost just to make sure he is an even coat of white. Next, I use jet black on the eyes and light lavender for the egg. For the egg basket miniature, the colors I use are Nutmeg Brown, Territorial Beige, jet black, light lavender, blue bonnet, Parakeet, and sunny day. I start with the Nutmeg Brown, doing a couple of coats, making sure the basket is an even coat of the Nutmeg Brown. And then I mix a little bit of water with the jet black to make a black wash, and I do a black wash all over the basket. After it dries, I get a soft dry brush and I use Territorial Beige to make some highlights onto the basket, hitting all of the high spots. After that, I use the rest of the colors for the eggs, alternating between the colors, kind of spreading them out between all of the eggs, and I leave one egg for the parakeet just to make one of the eggs stand out. For the pot, I do a couple of coats of khaki, and for the fence, I use white, just trying to make sure the whole fence is an even coat of white. For the tree, the colors I use are melted chocolate, jet black, and Territorial Beige. I start with covering it in a few coats of the melted chocolate, and when it dries, I do a black wash, and when it dries again, I use the Territorial Beige for dry brushing. After everything is dry, I use a satin clear finish. To finish the tree, I use a green polyfiber and I wrap it around the branches wherever I want there to be leaves. Next, I use a spray adhesive on the polyfiber for the leaves, trying only to spray the polyfiber and not the tree. Next, I use this Tupperware and this green blend, and I shake it onto the polyfiber that we just sprayed, trying to cover the entire tree. After that, I paint one full layer of the melted chocolate brown onto this wooden disc, adding some water to the paint so that it spreads easier. When it dries, I use this Mod Podge and I do a pretty thick layer of Mod Podge all on top of the disc. After that, I have this green grass mix and I pour it all over the disc, and then I tap out the excess, and this is what it should look like. Next, I use a sealer. It is 1 part Mod Podge, 3 part water, and I put it inside a spritzer bottle and spray down the disc. You can use a paintbrush instead of a spritzer bottle if you don't have one, and gently put it on to the disc, but I use a spritzer bottle, and I spray a generous amount onto the disc and wait for it to dry. I also use the sealer for the leaves on the tree, that way it hardens up and doesn't flake. For the pot, I just hot glue in various plants, starting with one in the middle and then working around the rest of the pot, dispersing each of the plants. After all of that and the disc being dry, I start by hot gluing the flower pot off towards the front left of the disc, the ghost right next to the pot, the egg basket right to the right of the ghost, the fence kind of at an angle behind the ghost and the egg basket, and the tree right next to the fence at the back left of the ghost. After that, I get a small bunch of this foam flock and I hot glue it in a few various places on the piece to make some bushes. Next, I hot glue in some rocks in random bare areas. And then I dab on some of the sealer with a paintbrush onto the bushes so that they harden up and don't flake. After the bushes were dry, I decided to add some of this pink Parfait paint to the bushes to give them some color. I used a dry brush and just dabbed it onto the bushes. This is the end result. You can paint it and assemble it however you want to, and you can get it off of my Etsy at sceniccuriosities.com. And you can get the exclusive mini for this kit on my Patreon as a Phantom patron. And also with the purchase of the kit, you can find my Etsy and my Patreon at sceniccuriosities.com. And if you have any questions, please reach out and let me know.